Unbelievably, we have a group I'd not heard of before, Animal Rebellion.
Animal Rebellion?
Animal Rebellion say they're hoping to stop deliveries to some 1,300 restaurants from the sites at Hempstead.
So it was kind of getting into the middle of the year, and it had been a while since we'd done anything, and we'd been for 6 months planning this big action. So as usual, the action, this was like our first big action for the year. We were all split up, spread across the country. We got up very early in the morning. It was dark. The site I was at, it was raining. So we drove to this park across the road from these big McDonald's distribution centres. We were setting up the beacons, like the bamboo structures in the park. And it was pouring rain, like unbelievably wet. Everyone was soaked, had to tighten these, metal strings for these constructions in the dark, in the rain. So, we lifted these massive constructions. We ran to the distribution centre. Some of us got stuck on a fence for a while, so that was great. And then we put them up, people climbed, it was still raining, it was wet, it was cold. And then we're up, we're in place, and we're blockading McDonald's distribution centre in Hempstead. And then we got the text, and we knew that all 4 of the distribution centres in Coventry, in Manchester, in Basingstoke had been shut down as well. So we knew that we'd blockaded 100% of McDonald's distribution across the country. And yeah, that was the start. It was a very long day, but it was just, amazing. It was incredible to feel like we'd taken on this massive corporation and we won for that day. It was so incredibly inspiring to know that everyone was there for the same reason. But I think everyone knew that this action was necessary. So it was this feeling of like incredible kind of community, of just this feeling of like there are people willing to climb up a bamboo structure in the pouring rain, or to, lock on to something, to like a concrete brick on the ground. And there are people willing to do that and to stay there for 24 hours, 32 hours, because they knew that that's what's necessary to bring about the world that we need. So yeah, I guess it was incredibly inspiring.
G7 was a climate conference set in Cornwall, so all of the world leaders were going to be there, and for Animal Rebellion we wanted to have a presence down there. Yeah, the camp that we had set up was a really nice community camp. Everyone kind of chipped in, played their part. So a lot of what we did was sitting inside, having these training sessions about non-violent direct action, just all of our principles and values, that kind of thing. So one day we decided to go to the beach. I was in the car with 3 other people. There's a video on my phone actually. We thought it was really funny that we were getting followed to the beach, and then we got pulled over. We had to get out of the car, and the driver of the car had to get out and speak to them. They told us that there was something wrong with the car. The car had an MOT 2 weeks before, and they were asking all kinds of questions to the driver, who owns this car. There was more waiting and there's more waiting, and it was becoming quite suspicious. So eventually we all got told that we're being arrested for conspiracy to commit public nuisance. I didn't really want to be arrested. I didn't really want to risk my job. I hadn't committed any crimes. I was just really, really upset. And I got put in the back of a police van. And I wasn't prepared at all. And I was in my swimming costume underneath my clothes as well.
We are asking now a clear demand by 2025.
So when I got home, I didn't have my phone on me, but I found out that there had been a camp raid as well. but a lot of people's laptops, phones got taken. So it was really quite scary for them. But some people, when that was happening, were at the McSitting. So when they got back, they found that there was that their friends had gone as well.
So we decided to target McDonald's only burger factory in the UK, in Scunthorpe, OSI Foods. And we went up to Scunthorpe, and on the 15th of July, we occupied OSI and we set up a blockade early in the morning. We managed to stay there for a few days, which prevented 9 million burgers from going out of the factory. It was a really cool action to be a part of and created significant disruption. It was really exciting, and it was kind of like an adrenaline rush going in there and trying to shut down OSI so quickly. It was really empowering and felt incredibly important to do, because we have the power to shut places down that are causing significant destruction and perpetuating the destruction to our planet, to people and to animals. And not acting on that is just at this stage completely irresponsible. And being able to have impact on an organization like McDonald's and targeting their supply chain was just kind of felt like we couldn't, not do it.
So it was near the beginning of the rebellion. So we planned to target McDonald's, and we initially met in a park nearby. And immediately the police were on us, just sitting in a park. 4 or 5 police vans showed up, which kind of gives an idea of how over the top the police response is to what is essentially peaceful, non-violent protests. They left us in the park. We obviously weren't doing anything wrong, and then we dispersed in small groups to the McDonald's in Leicester Square. So we entered in small groups, and within about 20 minutes, the McDonald's was full of peaceful protesters concerned about animal agriculture and the climate crisis. Once all the protesters were inside, we announced our presence and generally just intended to have a good time. There was a heavy police presence at the door and inside. But if you went to the front door and to the windows of the McDonald's, it was kind of mad to see we had a significant amount of support for what we were doing, raising awareness to the animal agriculture crisis and its contribution to the climate emergency. And obviously McDonald's, who are complicit in factory farming and all of these crimes against the environment of people and animals. But on the inside, it changed quite quick. And at this point, the business McDonald's had closed the doors voluntarily themselves to trap us inside, and we weren't allowed to leave. And I think that was scary for a lot of people. The police response was completely over the top, especially when some of these people were asking to leave. And that's when the police started arresting people en masse, and I think they arrested 38 people in total. Once they closed the doors and came around and started arresting people without warning, I think it kind of strengthened my resolve that something needs to be done, and that I need to be part of that action. And I think a lot of people felt the same way. Rather than deterring us, it's kind of encouraged us.
I was involved in action at Buckingham Palace to the Victoria Fountain. This is sort of just in front of Buckingham Palace.
Myself and 4 others climbed into Buckingham Palace fountains and emptied bottles of red food dye into the water. And we were holding placards pointing out the Crown as being responsible for a royal bloodbath due to their support of hunting, horse racing and blood sports. And there's been a report earlier this year finding that the Queen's lawyers had secretly lobbied Scottish ministers to change a draft law to exempt her private land from a major initiative to cut carbon emissions, and that's what we were highlighting. There was a lot of kind of walking around, getting nervous, trying to kind of logistically get people into position. Once we finally got into the fountain, just being able to stand there defiantly in the fountains in front of Buckingham Palace, knowing I was going to be arrested.
I have very limited ability to have an impact on dealing with the climate crisis. The royal family has a huge estate in Balmoral, and they have sort of other estates around the country. So they have a lot of power to lead the way on how to tackle the climate crisis. Far more than I can. I don't own like acres and acres and acres of land and stuff. I can't like grow loads of crops. I can't like rewild loads of land.
The charges are actually been dropped now because of this. And we're not going to get a day in court, which I find quite frustrating, because the reasons we did it have been silenced. Now no one's going to, the Queen and the Crown and royal family are not going to have to answer any press about this.
We were the end of the first week of the rebellion, so this was like a time for loads of different groups to come together, and we started at Smithfields, and I remember like everyone kind of coming together, and there were so many people there with loads of different like flags and colours and all these signs, and it was just really an amazing place to be with. I don't think I've ever been in a space with so many animal rights, I guess, people who are coming together for like this collective passion and ideal. And it was a really amazing space, and also was really nice to see members of like Extinction Rebellion, who were obviously in London for the rebellion, like coming to support us too. Like with Samba and the drummers, we had like that kind of solidarity across groups, and I think that was it was really cool. And yeah, it was really a beautiful day, and we'd been kind of visioning what we hoped it would be, and like it kind of turned out that way with the colours and flags and so many different people, and it was just really an achievement to be in like the streets in central London with such a clear voice for animals and such a clear like shared ideal and purpose. Yeah, it was really amazing.
So on the 31st of August, we shut down Arla's production centre in Aylesbury, which is one of the largest dairy producers in Europe, the largest dairy producer in the whole of the UK, which was a crazy action to pull off. We had a lot of challenges on the way. We were raided multiple times, lost all our equipment. It was one of those situations where honestly it feels like a miracle that we finally pulled it off. So on the morning of the action, we woke up very early. I think we were up at 2 a.m. And we all had to get ready, pack up all our stuff, and then go to a location where we had to put up the beacons, where we weren't going to be seen. And then when those were ready, we had to walk it down this main road, which was terrifying because, you know, any minute if anyone sees you, the police is going to get called and that's action over. And after everything we went through, after all the raids, after everything, it would have just been so heartbreaking to be stopped there. After being so close, but we made it and we did it, and we got to the site, and that minute when the beacons are up and you know that it's going ahead, it was just such a relief and such a sense of accomplishment of yes, despite everything that's happened, despite everything the police have thrown at us, we finally made it. To me, it felt kind of surreal, because of what I've just kind of described. I didn't think it would happen. There were so many times when I thought we're not going to pull this off. So getting there in itself felt amazing. It was my first arrest for me, so it was something nerve-wracking, but I think like all of us who do these things, I kept reminding myself, this is why we're doing this, because it's important. We're doing this because we're at a completely critical point in our history where we need direct action if we are to tackle this crisis and if we are to sound the alarm in the way that we need to. So in that sense, you feel the sense of accomplishment, but also for me, it's like the sense of grief that we're having to do this, that this is necessary.
So it was the run up to COP, and 4 young people climbed the DEFRA building, which is the Home Office in London. The aim of the protest was to send a message to the government asking them to put animal agriculture on the agenda for COP. We scaled the building, I think about 5 a.m. It was pretty terrifying. The police arrived, I think, within 10 minutes of starting the action.
Can we ask what the protest is about, please?
The building was multiple stories high, and we were attached by ropes to the building. And it took us about 2 hours to scale to the top. I do climb casually as a hobby, but this was just a whole different level. I have been working in healthcare for the past few years, and in the past 6 months I've had a lot of climate anxiety, and really wanted to start making a difference towards the climate crisis. I feel like there's no other option at this point other than direct action. I feel like we are not being listened to, and as a young person, I am terrified for the future. I feel like I can no longer continue working in healthcare, trying to protect people in the present when I know that the children of the future have no chance. So I took on this action in hopes of spreading awareness of the effect of animal agriculture in the climate crisis, and I hoped to, and still hope to, encourage world leaders to start making changes, and positive changes for the climate.
2021 was the year that we showed, inarguably, that meat and dairy equals climate crisis.
Our relationship with nature is not sustainable and is essentially fueling this extinction.
This is an absolutely critical point in history, in terms of, time that we have to mitigate the worst impacts of the climate crisis. We're down to the line.
We're at this stage now where we don't have a choice to delay anymore. We don't have a choice not to take direct action. Every single thing we do makes a difference at this stage.
We all know that time is very, very rapidly running out, that tipping points are coming closer and closer every single month or day that we don't spend taking direct action. This new police bill, it's scary, but it needs to be fought back against, and we can't let the government enforce more and more social constraints.
It's working what we're doing, which is why they want to curtail it, because we're making them pay attention to the science that they should have been paying attention to for years.
In 2022, what I want to see, what I hope to see, and what we need to see is mass action, is people power, people coming together, people saying this is enough. I have no faith in our government, I have no faith in world leaders, but I have faith in people.
We need to come together now more than ever, because you can arrest one person, you can put them in prison, you can arrest 10 people, you can put them in prison, you can arrest 20. When it comes to hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets and demanding a future, you can't arrest all those people and put them in prison.
I think that we, the people, need to come together to make our voices heard. We need to speak up against the policing bill, and hopefully in us coming together, we'll be more powerful than ever. And I think that that's how real change can happen, is when we all stand up against the repressive system that we're living under.
In 2022, I think knowing what our government has planned for us and knowing that the PCSC bill is coming into effect, it makes the situation that much more urgent.
What I want to see is 2022 as a year where we take this hope that I hope that we all have, this spark of hope, and we just breathe on it until it erupts into this flame of knowledge that we need change, but also knowledge that we have the solutions. We know what they are.